Empire Tales: Ragnar Lothbrok, the legend of the Viking king. The cold wind howls across the rugged, icy landscapes of Scandinavia. The waves crash against the shore, and the longships, made of iron and wood, sway in the tide. This is a world where warriors are born and kings rise from the blood-soaked earth. It is a world of myths, gods, and legends. And at the center of this world stands one name, Ragnar Lothbrok, a man whose story is intertwined with the fate of the Vikings themselves. The early years, from humble beginnings to a warrior's path. Born into a time when Scandinavia was divided, Ragnar's early life was not that of a king, but of a warrior's son. Raised in the harsh, unforgiving lands of Denmark, Ragnar was a child of the Vikings. From an early age, he learned to wield a sword, to navigate the seas, and to live with a warrior's resolve. But Ragnar was not content with simple raids. He sought something more. He sought glory and the promise of immortality that comes with it. The first steps of his journey were not grand, but the young Ragnar was determined to carve a path that would echo through history. His rise came not just from his strength, but from his cleverness, his strategy, and his unwavering determination to be the greatest. The first raids, blood and glory across the seas. Ragnar's first taste of true glory came with his raids on the British Isles. The Vikings were known for their lightning-fast strikes, and Ragnar, with his longship, would forever change the nature of raiding. The longships were built to travel quickly, to strike without warning, and to leave devastation in their wake. The Lindisfarne raid of 793 would mark the beginning of Ragnar's rise to fame. While the historical accuracy of his direct involvement remains debated, his name was forever tied to the Viking raids on Christian Europe. The Vikings were seen as barbarians, but Ragnar saw them as warriors of destiny, not bound by the rules of kingdoms or kings, but by the blood of the gods. The Battle of Paris, the greatest challenge. As Ragnar's fame spread, so did his ambitions. No longer content with raiding small villages, Ragnar turned his gaze toward one of the greatest cities of Europe, Paris. The Siege of Paris in 845 would become one of Ragnar's most legendary campaigns. The Frankish kingdom, led by Charles the Bald, was powerful and rich, but it was not prepared for the fury of Ragnar's fleet. With his fleet of ships, Ragnar sailed up the Seine River, cutting through the heart of Francia. The siege lasted for months. Paris' defenses were formidable, but Ragnar was relentless. Ragnar and his warriors besieged the city, demanding tribute in exchange for their departure. Eventually, Charles the Bald, seeing the devastation Ragnar had brought upon his kingdom, agreed to pay a large sum of gold, and Ragnar left victorious. The myth of Ragnar, a king and a god. Ragnar was not just a king or a warrior. He was a figure surrounded by myth and legend. The tales of his life and death blurred the line between reality and the supernatural. He was said to have been a son of the gods themselves, a descendant of Odin, and a warrior chosen by fate. Legends tell of Ragnar's ability to defeat entire armies with his intellect and cunning. The gods themselves are said to have smiled upon his victories. Ragnar's rise to power was not just through strength, but through his mastery of battle tactics, charisma, and strategy. He knew when to fight and when to wait, when to strike and when to retreat. As his legend grew, so did the number of his followers. His sons, including Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, and Sigurd Snake in the Eye, became warriors in their own right, continuing Ragnar's legacy of conquest and glory. Ragnar's sons, the heirs of a legend. Ragnar's legacy lived on through his sons, each of whom would go on to achieve greatness in their own right. Ivar the Boneless, known for his ruthless nature and brilliance in battle, became one of the most feared Vikings in history. Bjorn Ironside, known for his strength and leadership, became a king who would raid and conquer lands as far away as the Mediterranean. Each of Ragnar's sons was a reflection of the man himself, strong, fearless, and destined for greatness. The fall of Ragnar, captured by King El. Despite his many victories, Ragnar's life would not end in glory. Captured by King El of Northumbria, Ragnar was thrown into a pit of snakes, a brutal and horrifying death. But even in his final moments, Ragnar's spirit did not break. Legends say that as Ragnar faced the venomous serpents, he laughed, knowing that his sons would avenge him. He knew that his name would live on, that his legacy would never die. The legacy of Ragnar Lothbrok, a Viking king who lived beyond time. Ragnar's death was not the end of his story. His sons avenged him, waging war against King El and making sure that their father's name was forever etched into history. The Viking Age would continue for generations after Ragnar's death, fueled by the strength, valor, and ambition he had instilled in his sons. Today, Ragnar Lothbrok's name lives on, not just in sagas and legends, but in the hearts and minds of those who continue to celebrate his story. He is remembered as the greatest Viking king to ever live, a man whose ambition knew no bounds, and whose name will echo through time. The Viking king who became a legend. Ragnar Lothbrok may have lived in a world of violence and bloodshed, but his story was one of ambition, defiance, and victory. He fought not just for land or power, but for immortality, for a legacy that would live on forever. Even in death, Ragnar Lothbrok is a symbol of the Viking spirit, a symbol of what it means to live for something greater than oneself. Headphone listen now to hear the full epic saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, the legendary Viking king whose story defied the gods and shaped the fate of nations. If you enjoy cinematic storytelling and immersive history podcasts, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more legendary tales from the empires of the past.